We're going to have a couple of interesting days in a row here. We had this massive drop yesterday. I was not the only one spending hours trying to figure out what happened yesterday, where every single equity was down. I saw multiple stabs by various different analysts, but nobody had any conviction in what they came up with. I really thought that my Houthi, the Houthis' declaration of their intent to go to Gaza and help out Hamas might have been the reason. And yet, I had at least one headline this morning that was agreeing with me that pretty much laughing at the idea that they were going to start a trek 1,000 miles across the desert. My idea was, oh no, they're going to take their ships. Do they have any ships? And go the full length of the Red Sea with the entire Western naval operation that's been put over. Anyway, I don't think the Houthis are going to Gaza, and I don't think that was the reason why things blew up yesterday. In the final analysis, yesterday was probably a meaningless blip. And in the early morning so far, we've got about half of that being bought back. Roughly half, and it's choppy. So immediately we got about half back, and then it topped off like with some immediate profit taking, people taking their short-term gains. And now it seems to be staying there at about the halfway mark. The 10-year bond rally, I think, is past its prime. I'm beginning to think that we should be seeing the top on the bond prices, or the lowest point on the yields. Going into tomorrow's PCE numbers, people are projecting what's going to happen tomorrow. But this is getting a little crazy on the bonds, I think, at this point. So that's not investment advice. That's just my thinking. Of course, I believe that it's time for the shorter term bonds to have their rally, but the 10-year, I think it's gone about as far as it should go. We also have this inversion problem with regard to the bonds. This is historic territory. Started a year ago, July. The inversion has never lasted this long or been this deep. It is a huge inversion, 150 basis points plus on the 2-month and 50 plus basis points on the 2-year. There's no economic sense that I can make of it unless this is something completely new based on, as I've mentioned, changing demographics. I don't know. This inversion is so economically odd that nobody's covering it. I guess nobody has any better ideas than I do. I mean, nobody's covering it, and yet it's an historic first. Don't know what to tell you. This is Randy Kirk. What we talk about on these mornings and in these afternoons and in these evenings, 3 times a day, we bring you all kinds of news, analysis, and amazing folks helping me out in the evenings now. We've got such outstanding co-hosts every night of the week now. If you're not listening to these guys, you should be. So hit like, hit subscribe, and then, of course, hit notify so that you're always being notified of what's coming up later today. I've been telling you about this. I've got Scott Walter, and he and I are discussing the numbers. Scott Walter, there's nobody that should know better than Scott about what the numbers might be, what they might look like, what might happen with regard to Optimus next year. And so he and I had a pretty significant long conversation about where we both come down on this and battle it out for what we think is going to happen. You know me, I'm the optimist, and I think that the numbers are going to be huge, and I think they're going to sell them. Scott, not quite as certain as me, but find out why. Find out what he's thinking. That'll be around the noon hour today. And then, of course, we've got Bradford Ferguson coming on to help me figure things out at the end of the day after, will the market recover all of those losses yesterday, or only part? Or will we be shocked at the end of the day and all of this gain that we're seeing with the bargain hunters this morning, maybe that goes away and yesterday's number was where the market wants to be? Well, going to be a very unusual day. We'll see what happens. So Bradford Ferguson and I will work on that tonight. Finally, of course, it's too late to buy your Cybertruck bottle openers for your Christmas gifts. It's never too late to buy one for yourself. So, that would be something you might want to consider. And joining Patreon would be very, very important. Yes, we need more people to help me on Patreon so that I can get back and get some more of the information that is behind those paywalls. I'd like you to participate in that. I'd like you to be a producer because I think you're getting some value out of this program, and $5 or $10 a month shouldn't be an issue. Let's get down into the description below and help out there. All right, let's get back into it. Reuters has a long story out this morning claiming that they have 9 insiders at Tesla. These 9 insiders told them that Tesla's having difficulties ramping the dry coating on the anode side of the 4680. They go into depth. They spell out all the issues that these individuals claims are slowing down production. For the moment, I'm going to take this article with a grain of salt. We have not had a celebration party for the next 10 million cells, but there's no guarantee that there will ever be another celebration party for the next 10 million cells or the next one after that. Maybe at 50 million, they'll have a celebration party. I mean, they don't have a celebration party every time they sell another 10,000 of any, So anyway, it would be another great question, though, that Kathy could ask Elon. Would somebody send that over to Kathy? I'll try to remember to do that, although I've got a very busy morning this morning. We're headed over to Vegas for a few days. If you're going to be over there, look me up. All right. I'm going to go into the boring tunnel. That's one of the things I want to do while I'm in Vegas. Squawk Square, who I never quote, not because he's not a good guy. It's just I don't agree with much of what he had to say. But what he is reporting this morning, actually, lots of people reporting this morning. Cathie Wood started loading up on Tesla today, Tesla stock. Remember what I said? He says, when she buys, it's a temporarily bottoming sign. So he thinks this is a bottom. So he's probably buying big time. I think he said he bought big time at that low yesterday. Interesting guy to follow. I think he's probably one of the best day traders I've ever seen, if we can believe that what he's saying is true. I have no idea whether we can believe it or not, but day trading, he does a great job. Longer term analysis, not so much. Okay, Barron's says this morning, the Conference Board Consumer Confidence Index jumped up to 110.7 in December, a higher than expected level and up from November's downwardly revised reading. Americans are more optimistic that the economy will avoid a recession within the next year, the Conference Board said. The December increase was the most since 2021, while the outlook for inflation a year from now is the lowest since late 2020. Confidence gained the most for households aged 35 to 54, kind of that middle age group, with income levels of 125,000 and above. That's according to the Conference Board. Initial claims for state unemployment benefits increased 2,000 to a seasonally adjusted 205,000. Been right around that number for a while now for the week ended December 16th, according to the Labor Department. Economists polled by Reuters had expected 215,000, so it was not as much as expected. The GDP had its third and final revisions, showing a slightly lower 4.9% increase instead of the 5.2. Or it went from 4.8 to 5.2 and now back down to 4.9. All of that is a nothing burger, I'm sure as far as the markets are concerned this morning. They were probably happy that the confidence is improving because that's next year. They were probably happy that unemployment claims are still at least in the 200s. So I don't know if any of that is affecting markets this morning. They're probably all looking forward to tomorrow more than anything. And tomorrow morning, the core PCE index month over month is supposed to drop from 0.2% last month to 0.1% this month. And the core year over year is supposed to drop from 3.5 last month to 3.3 this month. I think the Fed, as I mentioned yesterday, already knew this. Not that they know it, but there is a mathematical calculation that can be done to get there. Pretty close, not exact, of course. From Market Watch this morning, the Philadelphia Fed said Thursday its gauge of regional business activity fell to a negative 10.5 in December from a negative 5.9 the prior month. Any reading below zero indicates deteriorating conditions. Economists polled by the Wall Street Journal expected a negative 4. So this was much worse than the journalists expected. This is the 17th negative reading in the past 19 months for the Philadelphia Fed. They said the article goes on to say that the barometer on new orders dropped sharply to negative 25.6 in December. So that's probably the main reason after a slightly positive reading of 1.3 in prior month. That's a huge drop in new orders. And I've seen that happen before in my own business. Actually, well, that's a much too long a story. I'm not going to go into it, but that's a really big drop. I would expect that there could be, maybe they had some problems, they're reporting problems here. We'll see what happens next month because that's unsustainable. The shipments index remained in contraction territory, negative 10.8, but the measure on 6-month business outlook rose to 12.1 from a negative reading of 2.1 in November. This is the highest reading since July. Maybe the retailers and wholesalers and OEMs that would be placing orders for to manufacturers last month were reducing inventories, and maybe this will turn around. But I'm thinking there's a numbers problem. I think their analysis, the data may be wrong, because that can happen. You can have a really, really bad month on the data. We've seen that happen before. So where are the stocks now on this light news day? Tesla continues to be up 5, retracing just about 50% of yesterday's loss. It had been up more than that. It had been up another 2. It had been up as high as $7 compared to the $10 loss yesterday. We have got the Dow up 277, the NASDAQ up 154, and the S&P up 41. The Mag 7 are all up, mostly strongly. And the Cathie Woods are all up as well. As I noted earlier, all the equities are clawing back some of those losses yesterday. The Dow Jones is up 0.76%, the NASDAQ up a full percent, the S&P up 0.87%, Tesla up 2%, which is the most of any of the Mag 7. Tesla continues to do this thing where they overshoot whatever's happening on the down or on the upside. There is always a delta of what Tesla is doing. Not always, but almost always a delta. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the bonds. And what we've got here is as I mentioned, this is beginning to make me believe that there's going to be a response here. There's going to be the curve is going to flatten. The 10-year is down another 3 basis points this morning to 3.847. I think we should be done on that. The 2-year is down 5.5 basis points, so that inversion is shrinking somewhat, but it's still basically 50 basis points. The 2-month is actually down for a change this morning, but it's still way inverted. Okay, so that's what we got going on the bonds. Let's take a look at the oil. We've got the oil sitting down a little bit, still around 74, 73 and a half. The Brent is still, it's dropped a little bit, $5.50 more than the Texas Intermediate, where it was $6 less. So maybe the Red Sea thing is becoming less of an issue. I'm not sure. I haven't seen any news on that this morning. Nat gas is up a little bit this morning, but not like yesterday where it was up dramatically. It's up 0.74%. We've got gold up a little bit, but still in that same range it's been, 2,055. Silver down. Copper up 0.41%. And then we go over to Bitcoin. Has been up strongly yesterday and up a little bit this morning, up 0.27% at 43.7. And then somehow the dollar indexes are missing. They're not here. That's interesting. I haven't seen that before. What did they do to the dollar? The information is so bad that they're not willing to report it this morning. Well, I'm sorry. I got no report on the dollar. Let's go back and check one more time on Tesla. Tesla is still now down. Now it's only up 4. So there is some folks that are taking some of those short-term profits. All right. Yesterday, Larry and I debated our expectations for Optimus for 2024. I mean, Larry and I are way off in our understanding, our expectations, and what we're hoping for next year. It's all good news because everybody, I don't care who I talk to, I don't know if you have any different opinion on this, but eventually Optimus is going to be selling literally millions of these robots per year. And it's going to be trillions of dollars in business. So whether it happens in 24 or 25 or 26, that they get to fully ramping and selling the product or renting or whatever it's going to be, it's not critical, but it is fun and interesting. I'd like to see it happen next year. I think that Elon would like to see it happen next year, and I don't see any reason why it won't. But I respect Larry and I respect Scott, so I brought them both on to give their opinion, and Larry and I talked about it yesterday. You should go back, if you didn't see that, you should go back and look at that. I will put the card right up here, and then later today, it'll be Scott Walter. We had a very long conversation, very in-depth conversation about where things are going. And Scott, of course, nobody should know better. I mean, who's going to know better than Scott? All right. So this is that time where you help the show, even though you may not want to spend $5 or $10 on Patreon, you can at least push like, just push like. And then if you haven't, we're almost at 20,000 subscribers after only 13 months. I think that's pretty good. My goal is to double that next year to 40,000. I'm going to need a lot of folks to hit that button. So hit subscribe and then hit notify so that you can be notified about upcoming shows. We've got Bradford Ferguson, of course, tonight helping on Good News Thursday. And Larry is back tomorrow night on Good News Friday, where we will find out what happened with that PCE. Actually, I'll be reporting on that in the morning. Another reason to hit notify. All right, last look here. Oh, did you buy your Cybertruck bottle opener yet? This one's for you because you missed the Christmas opportunity. So the markets continue. I want to say not just Tesla. Let me just take a look. The Dow is dropping off of its high of the morning and headed down. Okay, headed down. All right, not just down, but headed down. NASDAQ, same. Everybody's following the same pattern. I'm just going to look at yeah, it's pretty much the same pattern. Started up here, came down, moving around like this, but kind of trending down. So maybe the drop yesterday was something that the market felt was time to do, that we were just out too far in terms of those gains. We got into what they call the super greedy. It's not called super greedy. Anyway, very greedy there's a gauge that people have that where, you know, some of the indexes were getting way out there compared to historic levels. And so maybe the market needed to have a trim. I don't think Tesla needed to have a trim. I think Tesla is still way undervalued. But with the kind of FUD that is being passed around right now about Tesla in the press, in the economic press, in the financial press, it isn't surprising that it's not where it should be based on what I think are the fundamentals. Okay, that's all I got for you this morning. It has been great talking to you.